The first signs of trouble came not from Earth, but from the stars themselves. A shimmering tier opened in the sky over Nevada, right above a decommissioned Air Force base, and out of it glided a fleet of ships shaped like twisted seashells. They hovered silently, casting enormous shadows that stretched for miles. Within minutes, the world governments went from mild panic to frenzied diplomacy. The Galactic Alliance, as it introduced itself through a series of interpreters and frantic video conferences, was not here to attack. It needed help. Specifically, it needed human help. That was how Travis Delaney found himself sitting in a battered folding chair in the middle of a hangar that smelled like old jet fuel, staring at a creature with 6 spindly arms and a face like a melted candle. "You are Travis Delaney," the creature said, in a voice that sounded like someone dragging a rake over gravel. "That's me," Travis said, shifting slightly in the uncomfortable chair. He adjusted the sleeves of his worn leather jacket and glanced at the other humans lining the walls, all soldiers or scientists, all looking just as confused as he felt. "I am Zorvith of the Alliance," the creature said. "We require your unique capabilities." "Unique capabilities?" Travis asked, raising an eyebrow. "You sure you got the right guy? I'm just a logistics coordinator. I move stuff from point A to point B." "That is exactly why we chose you," Zorvith said. "Your species demonstrates extraordinary improvisational skills in high-stress environments. It is necessary." Travis leaned back, crossing his arms. "All right. Suppose I say yes. What exactly am I signing up for?" Zorvith's many fingers twitched in what Travis could only guess was nervousness. "A minor planetary stabilization effort. Minimal risk." The briefing lasted 4 hours. Travis learned that the Alliance had colonized a planet called Virexus 9, only to discover too late that the planet's tectonic plates moved unpredictably. Their own technology, designed with slow, methodical precision, was too rigid to cope with the chaos. Human adaptability was their last, desperate hope. By the end of the session, Travis was standing on a loading ramp, squinting into the sunset and wondering what kind of idiot said yes to this sort of thing. He did. The ship was a sterile maze of corridors that buzzed faintly underfoot. Travis shared a cabin with a creature named Yev, who resembled a walking tree stump covered in moss. "You require sustenance?" Yev asked, offering a bowl of something that smelled like burned rubber. "I'm good," Travis said, patting the protein bars stuffed in his jacket pocket. "Appreciate it, though." Yev watched him curiously. "You consume compressed rations willingly, beats whatever that is," Travis said, jerking his thumb at the bowl. The journey to Virexus 9 took 3 days. Travis spent most of it studying the schematics of the stabilization equipment, a mess of hydraulics, seismic dampers, and massive pylons that needed to be installed deep into the planet's crust. On the 4th day, they landed. The air on Virexus 9 was heavy and smelled faintly of iron. The ground beneath Travis's boots trembled intermittently, like a giant creature shifting in its sleep. Jagged mountains scraped the sky in the distance, and the sky itself was a sickly green. Zorvith met him at the base of the landing ramp. "You will lead the ground operation," Zorvith said. Travis blinked. "Me, just me." "You will have assistance," Zorvith said, gesturing at a group of alien workers who looked like oversized prairie dogs with mechanical arms grafted to their shoulders. "They await your instruction." Travis exhaled slowly. "All right. Let's get to work." The first day went relatively smoothly. Travis organized the workers into teams, assigned tasks, and even managed to get 3 of the massive pylons installed. Spirits were high, then the first quake hit. It started as a low rumble, then escalated into a full-blown seismic tantrum. The ground heaved violently, tossing the workers into the air. Equipment toppled like toys. Travis barely managed to dive under a maintenance vehicle before a crane came crashing down where he had been standing. When the dust settled, he crawled out, coughing and bruised but otherwise intact. "Status report," he barked, limping toward the cluster of workers gathering near the wreckage. One of the prairie dog creatures squealed something unintelligible. Travis glanced around and spotted an interpreter unit lying half buried in the rubble. He yanked it free and smacked it against his knee until it crackled to life. Casualties. Minimal, the interpreter finally said. Equipment loss, significant? All right, Travis said, spitting dirt. We can work with that. He spent the next 12 hours salvaging what he could, jury-rigging replacements with scrap metal and duct tape. The aliens watched him with a mixture of horror and awe as he welded 2 broken stabilizer arms together using a makeshift torch made from a fuel canister and a bent pipe. Is this safe? One of them asked through the interpreter. Not even a little, Travis said, but it'll hold. It did. Barely. 3 days later, Travis was operating on pure adrenaline and bad coffee. The work was grueling, the quakes were getting worse, and the equipment was falling apart faster than he could fix it. During a particularly nasty tremor, a support beam snapped and caught Travis across the ribs, slamming him into the ground. He gasped, pain flaring white-hot in his chest. Yev rushed over, dragging Travis out from under the twisted metal. "We must get you to medical," Yev said urgently. "No argument here," Travis rasped, clutching his side. The ship's medic, a spider-like creature named Drass, ran a scanner over him and frowned. "2 ribs fractured," Drass said. "Possibility of lung puncture." "We must perform imaging to confirm." The imaging confirmed no lung puncture, but Travis was benched for at least 6 weeks. Movement was painful, and even breathing too hard sent sharp jabs of agony through his chest. Zorvith visited him in the infirmary. "You must rest," Zorvith said. "We will find alternatives." Travis shook his head. "You don't have time. Teach someone else to jury-rig the equipment. I'll talk him through it. But you are injured." "Yeah, well, welcome to Earth's version of project management," Travis said grimly. For the next week, he directed operations from a battered reclining chair, shouting instructions into a calm unit while high on painkillers. The aliens struggled at first, but under Travis's stubborn guidance they adapted. Improvised, innovated. They built stabilizers out of scrap, redirected seismic energy into underground caverns, and even repurposed a crashed shuttle into a giant shock absorber. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. When the final stabilizer activated, there was a moment of stunned silence across the entire planet. Then slowly the tremors eased, the ground steadied, the sky brightened by a shade. The Alliance declared the mission a success. Celebrations erupted across Virexus 9. Zorvith stood next to Travis, who was still pale and breathing carefully. "Your methods are effective," Zorvith said carefully. "And terrifying," Yev added from nearby. Travis chuckled weakly. "Yeah, welcome to humanity, boys." Privately, though, the Alliance was horrified. Human adaptability had saved the colony, but at what cost? Protocols had been shredded, safety standards ignored, and half the equipment was now held together with literal duct tape and prayer. As the ship prepared to leave Virexus 9, Zorvith approached Travis one last time. "We are grateful for your assistance," Zorvith said, "but we will not be requesting human aid again." Travis grinned through cracked lips. "No hard feelings," Zorvith hesitated. "None, though it will take centuries to undo the structural improvisations you have introduced." Travis leaned back in his chair, wincing as his ribs protested. "Call it character building." The ramp closed behind him with a hiss. Travis watched the green sky fade into the familiar black of space, feeling the ship's engines hum to life beneath his feet. He had done his job. Maybe not the way the Galactic Alliance wanted, but the planet was still standing. And honestly, that was good enough for him. The ship's gravity shifted slightly as it exited Virexus 9 orbit, and Travis felt the familiar tug in his ribs that reminded him he was still very much broken. He adjusted the strap of his sling and grunted under his breath. Across the small medical bay, Drass clicked a few of its slender appendages against a console, emitting a low, chittering sound that Travis had learned was irritation. "You insist on moving without clearance," Drass said, arranging a set of sterile bandages on a tray. Healing will be delayed. Travis swung his legs off the bed carefully, breathing shallowly to keep the pain manageable. Yeah, well, sitting around's never been my thing. Yev shuffled in, carrying a peculiar device that looked suspiciously like a leaf blower crossed with a harp. Travis eyed it warily. "What's that supposed to be?" he asked. "Recreational engagement module," Yev said proudly, "for morale boosting. Does it shoot fireworks or something?" "It emits soothing vibrations," Yev said, setting it down with a reverence usually reserved for religious relics. "Essential for convalescence." Travis gave a dry laugh and immediately regretted it as a jolt of pain lit up his side. "Appreciate the thought, really, but I'm good with silence." Yev looked genuinely crestfallen, his mossy exterior drooping slightly. Travis sighed and patted the nearest appendage. "Tell you what, you fire that thing up later when I'm drugged to the gills. Might even enjoy it then." Drass adjusted a monitoring unit with a series of sharp taps. "You will remain here for 2 standard cycles. Movement restricted to level 3 and below." "That's the cargo decks, right?" Drass gave a series of clicks that the translator interpreted as affirmative. Travis nodded. "Fine. Cargo decks it is." A low chime echoed through the bay, and a panel on the wall lit up with an urgent orange pulse. Drass stiffened, antennae twitching. "Summons from command," Drass said. "Guess they miss me already," Travis muttered, pushing himself upright. His ribs screamed in protest, but he bit down on it. "Help me grab my boots, Yev." Yev obligingly handed him the battered pair, each scuffed and stained from Virexus 9 unforgiving landscape. Travis jammed them on, wincing as he bent forward. By the time he limped into the command center, the room was already buzzing. Screens lined every wall, flashing lines of alien script and jittery images of a new planet below them. Travis caught a glimpse of dark blue oceans and dense silver forests before Zorvith intercepted him. "You should not be walking," Zorvith said, his many fingers flickering in what Travis now recognized as barely contained exasperation. "Yeah, well, apparently my kind are full of bad ideas," Travis said. "What's the emergency?" Zorvith hesitated, then gestured to a holographic display. A massive storm system churned across half the planet's surface, lightning flashing in steady, rhythmic bursts. "This is Dylan Prime," Zorvith said. "Our agricultural colony is at risk. Atmospheric regulators have failed." "And you want me to fix that too?" Travis asked, raising an eyebrow. Zorvith's mouthparts twitched. "Assistance would be beneficial," Travis rubbed his temples. "All right, what are we dealing with? Faulty parts, power issues?" "Unknown," Zorvith said. "The regulators were installed according to standard protocol." "They should not fail." "Yeah, well, nothing ever fails until it does," Travis muttered. He studied the storm patterns for a long moment. "You got a land team down there?" "Negative. Conditions are deemed lethal." "Perfect," Travis said deadpan. "Guess I'm going." Zorvith folded 2 hands behind his back. "You are injured." "You've got no one else crazy enough, right?" Travis said, already feeling the familiar stubbornness settle in. He glanced over his shoulder. "Yev, you still got that morale machine?" Yev perked up immediately. "Affirmative." "Good, bring it. We might need morale where we're going." 2 hours later, Travis was strapped into a shuttle, wedged between crates of equipment and Yev's ridiculous vibration harp. The pilot, a wiry creature with translucent skin, glanced at him through compound eyes. "Landing will be rough," the pilot said. "Wouldn't know it any other way," Travis replied, tightening the restraints across his chest. The descent through Dylan Prime's atmosphere was like being trapped in a washing machine during an electrical storm. Lightning crackled across the hull and the shuttle shuddered violently. Travis gritted his teeth and held on. When they finally touched down, the ramp lowered into a world of torrential rain and howling wind. The air was thick and tasted faintly metallic. Visibility was barely 10 feet. Yev activated a portable shield generator, and a shimmering bubble formed around them, pushing the worst of the rain aside. "Regulators are 3 clicks east," Yev said, consulting a handheld scanner. Travis adjusted his sling and checked the seal on his jacket. Let's move. The trek across the flooded ground was slow and miserable. Twice, Travis stumbled into hidden sinkholes, and once, a flying creature the size of a turkey buzzed his head, shrieking angrily. Yev batted it away with surprising agility. By the time they reached the regulators, Travis was soaked to the bone and shivering. The regulators themselves were a row of massive towers, each one humming weakly. Sparks danced from exposed wiring, and a burnt smell hung heavy in the air. Travis crouched beside the nearest tower, grimacing as pain flared along his ribs. He popped open a maintenance panel and squinted at the mess inside. "Well, there's your problem," he said. "Someone wired this thing like a drunk octopus." Yev peered over his shoulder. "Can it be repaired?" Travis pulled a multi-tool from his belt. "Maybe. Gimme some light." Yev activated a flood lamp, and Travis set to work, carefully stripping melted insulation and bypassing fried circuits. His hands trembled slightly from the cold and pain, but he forced them steady. An hour later, the first regulator roared back to life. The storm above them shifted subtly, the wind easing by a fraction. "One down," Travis said, wiping rain from his face. 5 to go." They moved down the line, fighting worsening conditions. By the fourth tower, Travis's fingers were numb and blood was seeping through the bandages around his ribs. Yev noticed. "You are deteriorating," Yev said, voice low. "No kidding," Travis muttered, tightening the sling to ease the pressure. Almost there, though. At the fifth tower, the ground gave way underfoot without warning. Travis plunged waist-deep into freezing water, the impact knocking the breath from his lungs. Yev hauled him out with surprising strength, but Travis could feel the new damage sharp, burning pain that hadn't been there before. "Fracture displacement likely," Yev said, scanning him quickly. Travis coughed, trying to suck in air past the agony. "Later." "We finish first." The final regulator was in worse shape than the others. Half the outer casing had been torn away, and the main power conduit was hanging loose, sparking wildly. Travis stared at it, calculating risks. If he tried to patch it, there was a good chance he'd fry himself. If he didn't, the colony was finished. He pulled out a length of insulated wire and motioned for Yev to hold the conduit steady. "This is probably a terrible idea," Travis said. Yev's mossy exterior rippled anxiously. "Proceeding regardless. Wouldn't be me otherwise." Bracing himself against the pain, Travis connected the wire, grounding it against a nearby frame. A blinding arc of electricity shot out, throwing him backward into the mud. When he came to, Yev was shaking him gently. "You are not deceased," Yev said, sounding genuinely relieved. "Not yet," Travis croaked, tasting blood in his mouth. His side was a burning wreck, and he could barely move his left arm. "Did it work?" Yev pointed upward. The storm was breaking apart, the clouds thinning to reveal slivers of a pale yellow sky. "Good," Travis said. "Now help me up before I drown in a puddle." It took both of them to get him onto his feet. Every step back to the shuttle was agony, but Travis refused to let Yev carry him. When they finally reached the ramp, the pilot stared at Travis's shredded appearance and said nothing. Just hit the acceleration and got them the hell off the planet. Back aboard the ship, Travis was immediately rushed to medical. Drass was waiting, instruments lined up in grim anticipation. "This time," Drass said, "you will remain stationary until fully healed." Travis, too exhausted to argue, just nodded. Drass injected a sedative, and the world blurred into a merciful gray. As he drifted off, he heard Yev's voice, low and awed. "Humans are either indestructible or catastrophically reckless." The last thing Travis remembered was laughing weakly, his cracked ribs protesting the whole way down. Travis woke to the sterile scent of antiseptic and the distant hum of machinery. His ribs felt like they had been replaced with splintered wood, but at least the stabbing pain from before was dulled to a manageable throb. He blinked against the overhead lights and caught sight of Yev perched awkwardly on a stool nearby, fiddling with what looked like a knitted object in his stubby fingers. "That for me," Travis rasped, his voice rough. Yev startled, nearly dropping the thing. "It is a comfort item." I observed humans using them post-trauma. Travis squinted at it. It was vaguely blanket-shaped, stitched together from what appeared to be scraps of old uniforms. One patch still had a scorch mark. Looks heartfelt, Travis said, shifting to a more upright position. The movement made his side ache, but not as sharply. Thanks, pal. Yev placed it carefully over Travis's legs, beaming so much his mossy exterior nearly brightened a shade. Drass entered without ceremony, rolling a diagnostic cart that beeped in a way Travis found personally insulting. You are marginally improved, Drass said, scanning him briskly. Bone knitting is at 73%, no pulmonary complications detected. Sounds like a party, Travis said, flexing his fingers to test how much strength he had. When can I get out of this bed? After full mobility assessment, Drass said, handing him a padded rod. Squeeze, Travis did, wincing at the effort. The monitor chirped approvingly. Acceptable, Drass said. Stand. Grimacing, Travis swung his legs over the edge of the bed. His muscles protested, stiff and uncooperative, but he managed to push himself upright. Yev hovered anxiously. I'm good, Travis said, taking a few experimental steps. Pain flared but didn't floor him, which he decided counted as a win. Drass watched impassively. You will require a support brace for no less than 7 cycles. Better than being stuck flat, Travis said, gingerly rotating his shoulders. What's been happening while I've been out? Yev straightened. The Alliance initiated a review of human methodologies. There was. Debate, Travis raised an eyebrow. Debate. Yev hesitated, choosing his words with care. Certain factions advocate for restricting human involvement to non-critical engagements. Others propose comprehensive integration. Travis barked a short laugh, regretting it immediately as pain lanced his side. They're gonna have a hell of a time agreeing on that. Indeed, Yev said solemnly. Before Travis could ask more, Zorvith entered, flanked by 2 other officials Travis didn't recognize, one with glistening blue scales, and another whose body seemed to ripple like disturbed water. You are ambulatory, Zorvith said, as if this fact personally offended him. Against all odds, Travis said, hitching the blanket more securely around his shoulders like a makeshift cloak. What's the verdict, then? Am I getting court-martialed by the galaxy? The ripple-bodied official regarded him with something akin to fascination. You exhibited resourcefulness beyond projected human baselines. That's new, Travis said, wary. Usually I'm accused of reckless endangerment. The scaled official stepped forward. You prevented colony collapse under conditions our projections deemed unsurvivable. Your methods, while unorthodox, achieved statistical success. Sounds dangerously close to a compliment, Travis said. Zorvith's fingers twitched. The Council has reached a decision. Your continued presence is deemed advantageous during high-risk operations provided you operate under strict supervision. Travis snorted. You want me to save your bacon, but only if I wear a leash. Typical? Yev coughed delicately. It is considered a compromise. Travis considered it. His ribs ached, his head was pounding, and he was pretty sure he still had mud from Dylan Prime in his boots. But there was something satisfying about the idea of keeping these rule-obsessed aliens on their toes. Fine, Travis said, shrugging. But if I'm doing this, I'm doing it my way. No committees, no 30-page reports before I can tighten a bolt. The ripple-bodied official exchanged a glance with Zorvith, then inclined his head. Parameters noted. Good, Travis said, easing back onto the bed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need about 18 hours of sleep and something that isn't nutrient-paced. Meal requisitions have been authorized, Drass said, producing a small device. Input preferences. Travis took it, squinting at the options. Do you people even have cheeseburgers? The device buzzed uncertainly. Yev leaned in. Explain cheeseburger. Travis chuckled, wincing again. It's like a miracle. Meat, cheese, bread, all the major food groups. Yev's moss twitched thoughtfully. We have synthesized equivalents. Great, Travis said. Order me 3, no 4, and something fizzy to drink. While Yev busied himself tapping furiously at the device, Travis leaned back against the pillows, feeling the tension finally drain from his battered body. Zorvith lingered at the foot of the bed. "We have updated risk assessments based on your precedents." "Let me guess," Travis said, grinning tiredly. "Humans are now classified as a natural disaster." Zorvith's mouthparts shifted in a way Travis decided to interpret as agreement. "You are now categorized under uncontainable variables." Travis laughed until he had to clutch his side. "Sounds about right." The officials departed, leaving Travis alone with Yev and Dras. The medical bay settled into a quieter rhythm. The only sounds the soft beeping of monitors and Yev's occasional muttering as he tried to decipher human culinary preferences. Hours passed in a blur. Travis dozed, woke long enough to choke down an approximation of a cheeseburger that tasted faintly of seawater, and drifted off again. Healing wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. By the time a full day had passed, Travis could walk the length of the medical bay without assistance, albeit slowly. Yev celebrated by producing the vibration harp again, much to Travis's dismay. "You cannot refuse therapeutic frequencies," Yev insisted, hands poised over the strings. Travis sighed. "Fine, play me something soft." "None of that dissolve your organs with base nonsense." Yev nodded seriously and plucked the strings with surprising delicacy. The air filled with a low, melodic hum, not unpleasant at all. Travis closed his eyes, letting it wash over him. When he opened them again, Dras was recording data from the machines, and Yev was adjusting the tempo of the harp based on Travis's breathing patterns. "Not bad," Travis admitted. "Almost makes up for the seawater burgers." Yev's moss fluffed with pride. The next morning, Travis was cleared for limited duty. He declined the standard uniform, opting instead for his battered jacket, which had miraculously survived both Virexus 9 and Dylan Prime mostly intact. He stepped into the corridor, feeling the ship's subtle vibrations under his boots. Aliens passed him, some giving him wide, respectful berths, others nodding cautiously. Word had clearly spread. As he made his way toward the operations deck, he passed a wall where a new sign had been posted. It was written in a dozen languages, but the translation was clear: in case of emergency, consult designated human. Travis chuckled, shaking his head. "You're welcome, Galaxy." He reached the operations deck just as the ship rolled gently into orbit over a new world, this one calm, serene, and for now blissfully lacking seismic tantrums or apocalyptic storms. Zorvith met him at the entrance, 2 datapads clutched in his lower hands. "There is a situation requiring assessment," Zorvith said. Travis waved a hand. "Later. First, I'm getting real food, a shower, and at least 1 hour where nobody's bleeding or on fire." Zorvith looked as if he wanted to object but thought better of it. Travis grinned. "Trust me, you'll thank me later. A rested human is slightly less likely to wreck your infrastructure." He turned down the corridor, whistling an off-key tune, Yev trailing him like a loyal, mossy shadow. For the first time in what felt like weeks, Travis felt almost normal. Maybe he wasn't the galaxy's ideal hero, too messy, too stubborn, too prone to welding things he technically shouldn't, but he got things done. And whether they liked it or not, the Galactic Alliance had decided that was exactly what they needed, at least until the next disaster.